I, among others, struggle with finding our place in this world, in friend groups, simply just in social settings. You might find yourself in situations where you try to fit in with the rest of the crowd, and it often leads to you doubling down on your own beliefs, your feelings, and your hobbies. The real mystery occurs after all the blind following settles. When the people aren't around you, what is left of you? What do you tell people about yourself when they're not around? What do you tell others about yourself when you're not surrounded by the individuals who you revolved your entire personality around? Now you're stuck and confused because you finally think about how you truly forgot who you are. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another conversation with Jay Cee. Today's topic revolves around the idea of being a people pleaser. This is something that I personally struggle with, have always struggled with. And with this new journey of mine in my young adult life, I'm trying to slowly reconnect and rediscover myself. Since I was young, I always revolved my personality and who I was around others based off who I was around. Whether it was my friends, my family, the media I consumed, I let that slowly become who I was, to the point where I would agree blindly to other people's opinions, even if I knew it wasn't aligned with what I personally believe. I still went with it because I didn't want to be singled out. I didn't want to be the outlier or the odd man out when everyone else had the same opinion. Because when you're younger, being the person who has a different opinion is scary. And unfortunately, I grew up in a time where having a different opinion than others, especially your peers or so-called peers, who tend to get made fun for that. Even if your opinion is not crazy, and it is a pretty common opinion, if it's not aligned with what the majority agrees with, they're going to shame you. Whenever you're young, let's say middle school, high school, that social status, how you come across to others, what you believe in, who you put yourself out to be there to the world, especially in that setting, matters a lot. It matters too much to an extent, to where you start becoming a character, a facade of who you truly are. One way I want to describe this idea of people pleasing, it's sort of like a chameleon trap. And what I mean by this is the reason why people like me tend to lean more on pleasing and following other people's beliefs. It's not because it comes from malice, but just of a sense of trying to feel welcome and safe, trying to fit in with a crowd. And whenever you're scared of not making friends and you want to make friends and fit into a group, you tend to put out a version of yourself that is fake. Some of the values that you have yourself, you might share, but it's not fully you. It's more of a 40% you and a 60% of what you want others to see. And that goes for not just friendships and who you put out there for family. For family, it's a little harder because they know you, who you are deep down. But you also see this trend in relationships because you want to impress somebody. It's very similar. You want to impress this person and you want them to like you. And if you have an opinion that you know somebody else might not agree with, or you personally are very insecure about, whether it's a hobby, uh, something you genuinely enjoy that you're a little embarrassed about speaking to others, you're not going to share that part of your life. You're only going to put out there in the world what you want others to know that will make you interesting. You want to come out interesting. You don't want to come out boring, bland, weird. And because of that fear, it's easy for us to shapeshift to avoid the risk of rejection. And there is a cost to trying to fit in this manner. Because in these situations, you start to trade your personal beliefs, what makes you, you, for social validation. First, it starts off very simple by you laughing at a joke that you may not find funny, you might find offensive, but if you continue that behavior, it can turn into something more unhealthy. It can end up in you adopting behaviors, negative ones, ideals that you have never agreed with, and implement that into yourself. So, what could have started as a facade and you just trying to fit in and slowly evolve to you adopting an entire identity that isn't yours. The cost of trying to fit in and introduce yourself in not the healthiest manner involves forgetting who you are. Another thing that relates to being a people pleaser is that you tend to agree to plans that, one, you may not be a full fan of, or you may not just be interested in. Sometimes you inject yourself into a crowd that you know is not the best for you. It influences you to do unhealthy things and bad things, which you know are wrong. But because you want to fit in, you agree to plans, you agree to do things, you agree to try new things out that you might not want to do, but because you want to fit in and you don't want to increase the chances of further rejection from the world, you say yes. And when you train yourself at a young age to say yes to things you don't really have interest in or don't want to do, you're going to learn to constantly say yes. And you're going to lose yourself and your ability to simply say no. Something I and plenty of other people seriously need to work on. Saying no does not mean you don't like these people, doesn't mean you hate surrounding yourself around a person. Saying no simply means you don't feel like you're up to doing something. And that is okay. Sometimes, as humans, our social battery runs low and we need to recharge. There's so many things that go on in life, in your individual life, and it could range to so many different things, whether it's school, work, going to the gym, having a hobby that you're focusing on, your steps, whatever. We have lives. We are busy. And as much as we like to make time for people and we want to be social, we also need to know when we need to chill, when we need to press pause and relax. And sometimes you're going to have to say no to plans so you are able to do that. FOMO, that is a big fear, the fear of missing out. And if you say no, you're scared that you're going to miss out on memories. And if you continue to say no, you fear that your friend group is no longer going to invite you, or they're going to ask you and let you know about ideas, plans, vacations less and less, to the point where they might just fully detach from you. And that is a fear that sometimes you need to try to reduce in your own head. Try not to overthink that, because if these people truly love you and vibe with you and want to be a part of your life, part of your circle, then they're going to understand your boundaries. There should never be hate or this feeling of malice or not liking somebody because they're sticking to what they want to do. And sometimes what you want to do is nothing. And the unfortunate thing about learning this idea that should have been something you practiced since the very beginning is that people will think that you're switching up, that you're being someone who you're not. And then that can create a whole rift in your relationships, in your friendships. But one question I've constantly have in my mind when it comes to this idea is, how can you tell me that I am not being myself when I don't know who I am? I can't not be myself when I never knew who I am, when I lost who I was simply for the approval of others. And that's not to put blame on anyone else. That is trying to also take ownership for the situation you and I have put ourselves in. And as unfortunate as it is, it's the truth. What I agreed to so many times was because I didn't want to miss out. I did want to do some of these things. I won't lie, I have agreed to things and said yes to things that I did because I simply didn't want to be left out. And whenever you feel like you're missing out on something, you can overthink. You don't want to be left alone. And whenever you're constantly feeling internally like you don't have anyone you can depend on, you feel like whenever you change, evolve, and you're not the person that your friends or the circle that you surrounded yourself around agree with or are to their liking, you're afraid that they're going to leave you. That fear is something that we need to train ourselves to sometimes be okay with. If you are somebody who is constantly agreeing with somebody, saying yes, and is only giving a reaction, a simple I agree, you're right, and building on somebody's ideals and opinions, sometimes you might genuinely agree with, but a part of me would say that you are not being true to yourself. Because to be true to yourself means that you're going to disagree with people. Even your closest friends, your family members, your loved ones, you're going to disagree. And if you're always finding yourself in situations where you're agreeing about everything, you're not being honest. There is something somebody has said to you that you really care about that you don't agree with. And you're afraid to say that. I've been afraid to say that because I'm afraid of that confrontation, of that negative moment when I just only want to be positive. But sometimes you have to stay true to your opinions, to who you are. And if somebody, including your friend or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your parents, don't agree with that and they shame you on that instead of just giving you respect for having a difference in opinion, then that's their loss. That tells you more about that person than it tells you about yourself. If we were all the same person in this world, Earth would be very boring. It would be very fucking boring. The thing that makes life worth living is that we are all different individuals. We are all unique. We all have different traits that make up our character. It's the reason why we are attracted to people who have different opinions, different beliefs, because it opens our mind to a whole nother branch of ideas that we never thought of before, that you may have not allowed yourself to be open to. An idea I want to bring back from earlier is the scenario of whenever those friends are gone, they're not around you. You're left in a situation where you have to introduce yourself to somebody, to another group. What are you to tell them about yourself? Yeah, you might have your things you like and your hobbies, but we don't know where to start because we have put aside the things that we enjoy ourselves and have put forth what other people enjoy because that's what everyone else does. So you want to do that to fit in. But then this also doesn't sound right to introduce to others. You want to tell them this, but you kind of lost it. So now you find yourself in another situation where one, you are repeating a loop or could repeat a loop of telling somebody a lie or an exaggerated introduction of yourself to make them approve of you. And two, you don't know how to answer them properly. You're frozen because you don't know how to respond because you forgot who you are. And in those moments, in that silence, that pause where you truly have to think, that is when you start feeling possibly a lot of regret, a lot of anxiety. People pleasing often leads us in situations where we truly feel alone. So we stick onto other people, depend on other people for happiness. And what's most important to learn through this video is to rediscover yourself. Learn your own identity, your own purpose. Don't do something because friend A wants to do it. Don't do something because a significant other is doing it. We are not all well-rounded. We are not all have a direct path, a clear path, a clear road to success, to the finish line. It is okay to not know what you're doing in life. It is okay to not know. It is okay to not be sure. And you do not have to lie to other people to make them think that you have things figured out. It's okay to not be 100% in something. Be honest about that. Because if you are honest about yourself, who you are, what you like, whether that's the good, the bad, what you don't know, what you're struggling with, instead of always trying to be perfect for an audience, people can help you. People will realize that and see that and want to help you to learn more about yourself. Hey, let's go try this out, something you like. Open yourself to doing things that you enjoy, that you're interested in, and not doing something simply because of trying to fit in. One thing that I've been doing recently, which I strongly recommend for you to do, get a sheet of paper, a journal, and write about you, nobody else. Think about things that describe you, but not what would describe you based off what you learned from your friends. Don't base your answers based off the personality, the identity, the character that you created because of your circle. Answer truly for you. What do you like to do? What do you think about certain things? What are your opinions? What words describe you best? And if you are struggling to answer those questions with lots of words, then that will make you realize not necessarily that you have an issue, because you don't. Everyone has flaws, and sometimes we are not introduced to these things until later on in life, and that's okay. It's never too late to rediscover yourself, to improve flaws, and to try to improve them, and to rebuild you. It's really hard to fill in cracks of an already broken statue that is lost, disfigured. And sometimes we have to tear down that statue and rebuild it from the ground up into something that we are genuinely proud of, not based off of the ideas of others to try and make it perfect, but to build it off of our own ideas. Even if it doesn't look beautiful, has some rough edges, that's okay. Those rough edges, the smooth curvature of this new statue that you are building yourself independently, that is what makes you you. You have to learn to be grateful for that and love that. It is a blessing to be your own person and to stand out, because you don't only ever want to be the person that fits in with the crowd. Stand up for your beliefs, for your hobbies, for the things you enjoy, the things you love, and stand out to the crowd. Be embarrassing. Be silly. Be yourself unapologetically. That is how we learn to live life. Step out of our comfort zone and be cringe. Because who fucking cares? Who cares? Nobody. And if they do, whatever. Be yourself. I really appreciate you all joining me in this video. And if you haven't already, please go check out the rest of our conversations here with Jay Cee. This is a beautiful conversation. If there is another topic you want me to talk about here on this channel, please leave a comment down below and hit the subscribe button, the like comment if you haven't already. Thank you for taking your time to hear me yap about things that I'm passionate about. And I hope that my words make your pain, your doubts quiet down a little bit so you can truly love yourself. Thank you all. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.